Love. Some would say it took a backseat when the pandemic forced us apart. As a family-run and proudly Canadian-owned company, Charm Diamond Centers saw the need to bring us together with tales of love and created the Canadian Love Map podcast. Since then, we've shared hundreds of real, uplifting stories that prove love conquers all. So thank you for listening. We couldn't do it without you. And remember, love starts here.
We make each other better.
She always reminds me about what actually matters.
You know, love conquers all.
Wherever he is, I want to be there, always.
She just always accepted me for who I was.
He makes me a better person.
It was like love at first sight.
Well, love is the most important thing.
We love to be part of Canadian Love Stories, and it's just great that we have, some really tangible, real stories to hear, and it's amazing.
Loved each and every one of the stories. It was so heartwarming, and I'm just so proud that I was part of it.
Hi, I'm Nancy Regan. Today's love story belongs to the Calder family. Once upon a time, there was a family business built on love that started with one store and grew over 5 decades to be the largest family-owned jeweler in Canada. One day, they decided to spread the love even more by sponsoring a podcast featuring love stories of all kinds. Sound familiar? This is the Canadian Love Map. You do not get to be 50 years in business as a family-run operation without accumulating a lot of stories. And I would love to start with the story of how Charm came to be.
Well, I could take that because actually, prior to Charm, I was in the jewelry business, and but I always wanted to do my own thing. I decided that I should create my own store, so I was very, very determined that should happen, and I had lots of support.
When I first learned about it, he took me to the Red Fox Tavern, and he said, I've always wanted to go into business for myself, and I think we should do it. We're going to open our own store, and I'm going to have a chain of stores. I said, you are going to have a chain of stores. We have nothing. We don't have one store, and you are going to have a chain of stores. Yes, he said, that's what we're going to do. And he said, but I need you to be on board. And I said, yes, we'll do this. And that's actually how it started. It was a Red Fox Tavern. And it was pretty mind-boggling at the time because we needed seed money and where we were going to do that. So we sold our house, we sold our car, and Richard had really good support from suppliers because he had been in the jewelry business and he was very well liked in the industry. And the bank supported us really well too. It was a local bank in the Woodlawn Mall and they loved him. And that's how I say it started.
It sounds like, though, that you bought into that broader vision very quickly, that, okay, we're not just starting a store, we're starting an empire in a way.
Well, I don't think the empire in the early stages was going to be that large. I thought that we wanted to have a chain of at least 4 stores. And but she said, we don't have one. And I said, no, but we have to have 4 or 5 stores. That's where I wanted to go. So right from the get-go, I was thinking that I didn't want to run one. I wanted to run 4 or 5. And so we started out on the venture to do that. She said, where are we going to get the money? And I said, well, we're just going to have to sell the house. We're going to have to sell the car. We'll just put all the money together. And I was really very good at money. I was always very good at money.
You were.
Right.
Great financier.
And so we compiled the money and we worked hard and started that first store in a place called Woodlawn Mall, which is probably not considered to be the best location in the world. It was handy, but we made it work. We made it work.
It was a lot of work. A young family, new business. Yeah, we talked about it and we thought about it 24/7 for years. It was 24/7 Charm Diamond Centers.
And what was it about the idea of selling jewelry that people would buy to give as, as an indication of their love? What did that represent for you in terms of appealing to you as a business model?
There's no better business actually than the jewelry business to be involved in everybody's special giving and special occasion, and whether they're getting engaged or whatever. It's just all part and parcel of that, and we really enjoyed being part of that special thing. So we embraced that right from the beginning, and didn't think of them really so much as customers as more like that we were helping them with those special events. Even after 50 years of being in this business, I felt like I've never worked a day in my life, and because I've just enjoyed the overall business and that part of it, dealing with customers and dealing with employees so much that it's just been it's been a great ride.
Troy, when did you know that this was your calling?
Not till later on in life. So I was being called back from BC. I was in BC and on a different trajectory career-wise, and they wanted some help with their POS, the computer system. So I had more knowledge than anyone else in the family with computers, which wasn't a lot, but I had more knowledge than everyone else. So I went back to help, and I just got caught up in the bug of all of the fun things in the jewelry business. Not only was it in the logistics of getting, but the merchandising part and the marketing part is just so much fun. And as Sharon was saying, the people that we were around were hilarious. I mean, like, they were super fun, and we did grow up with the people in Charm and find out their stories, their life stories as we went on. So it was hard to leave, really hard to leave.
The theme of family also seems to extend to your customers.
Well, I think win the customer for life. This is what is our mission statement, is to win the customer for life. And we wanted all of the employees and all the frontline workers to realize that we were there to win the customer for life. So no matter what we had to do to keep that customer, we were prepared to do that, to keep that customer. And that's what you have to do if you're going to win them for life. So you can't be, wishy-washy about that. You have to be out there for them and do whatever it takes. And sometimes, you have to do a lot. And sometimes you have to do a lot, and you have to do it in quickly, because people are getting married, and the wedding is in 2 weeks, and the wedding bands are not in yet. And so when you have to be able to, you can't say, oh, that's okay. You just have to be able to get those wedding bands in. You have to turn things around, and you have to do whatever you have to do. So it's all about winning the customer for life is our motto, and we stick with that, and we talk about that every day.
I think you might have a couple stories of going above and beyond.
I had a customer, a gentleman who I'd dealt with for many years, and he called me from New York. He said, "It's my anniversary, and I forgot, and I'm coming home. Help." So what we did, I said, "Well, do you have any idea?" "No," he said, "I know you'll get the right thing." So I picked out something I thought his wife would love, gift wrapped it, even got a card. And when he got off the plane, there it was.
Obviously, we have many stories of how our own sales associates have gone above and beyond. Driving to different cities and deliveries to offices. I mean, that's numerous times. But I personally been involved in a number of sales transactions too, where you see how much emotional connection they have with the product, and you have to go to do whatever you can to make sure that purchase is perfect. And in one case, the guy was flying to Italy. He had this whole dream set up of how he was going to present an anniversary product, an anniversary ring. But it was a struggle to get everything to line up with him and his busy schedule and make sure, but it all went out perfectly, and they had a beautiful trip, and we were just happy to be a part of it.
But you're part of the love in
Right,
that.
absolutely, yeah. It's humbling in some ways.
I have a couple of stories. Number one, we used to sell grandfather clocks, and oftentimes, that managers of the stores would be going out on Christmas Eve and so on, and taking the grandfather clock and putting it in the house under the tree or near the tree, and so on, and setting them up for them because they didn't want them there before. And so we would be making that last minute delivery. So that is quite special, and so they would go the extra mile to do that. The other thing is that at one time we had a robbery in a store in New Brunswick, and it was 2 days before Christmas, and they came in and they stole everything that was in the safe and all of the layaway purchases for all of the customers that were having special things for Christmas that were in there. And Sharon and I, we left the office, and we went to all the existing stores with a list, and went and picked up all of the different items that were in there, and delivered them personally to the store so that they could all pick them up on Christmas Day on time. So nobody was short of the items. So we had to tear all the way around the country, whatever type of thing, picking up these things and so on. I mean, today maybe it would be a FedEx that you could count on, but back then it was no FedEx you could count on. So we had to do it personally. So there's lots and lots of stories about home delivery and delivery to nursing homes for special people, and that we would make as well. So, taking that win the customer for life has a lot of meaning to a lot of people, and a lot of people embrace that to the fullest. And so we try to live by that. So it has meaning to us.
Yeah, and I feel like winning the customer for life is really something that we can all grab a hold of. When it comes to even how the store should look, if you're the customer coming in, how easy should it be to shop? The value they're getting in their items. So winning the customer for life, they shouldn't just be happy today and tomorrow. They should be happy a year from now that they really got what they really wanted, right, for their loved one. So I think that encompasses a lot of what we do, is we try to look at the customer long term, and I think it seems to work. Sometimes they propose right in the store, on one knee and everything like that. So that's always magical. I've seen some pictures of people getting proposed right in our store. I find personally when a guy buys an engagement ring, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, and it's actually quite exciting. He doesn't even know what's going to happen, and oftentimes it's like a hot potato, and they propose the second he arrives home, right, where he has a plan, but he can't help himself. So it's always fun to see what happens, and oftentimes they'll come back to us and tell us how they did it, how they proposed. So it's nice.
You get to hear the other side of the story.
Yeah, we get to hear some of the stories, exactly.
Sometimes we prompt them a little bit, because as we're selling them the diamond or whatever, we say to them, do you know how you're going to propose? And you know what you're going to do? So, no. And so that's a very interesting conversation. But some of the associates help them a little bit with that. Well, maybe you should do this, or maybe you could do that, or whatever. So just kind of bring up some ideas. So that's what I'm saying. We share in the overall purchase and the love. That's how it brings the love back around.
Mm-hmm. That's the underpinning of the business in so many ways.
Yeah, and some of our people, actually some of our great salespeople have actually been invited to the wedding because they get so involved with the engagement ring and the wedding ring and the other gifts that they actually get invited to the wedding. Now, how sweet is that?
That's really sweet. That says a lot, actually. We couldn't share the great stories that we do here on the Canadian Love Map podcast without the amazing support of Charm Diamond Centres. They are Canada's largest family-owned jeweler, and they're proud to be putting love on the map. The folks at Charm Diamond Centres are thrilled to be a part of your love story. So visit charmdiamondcenters.com or one of your local stores. Love starts here. I'm curious about highlights of yours over 50 years building this wonderful family-owned business. When you look back, what are some of your real highlights?
Highlights? Well, I'd say, some of the proudest moments that I have, which are very close, proudest moments that I have, they're very close, is I have to say that our overall team and so on did a tremendous job through COVID. And, this was the most challenging thing for a retailer to be able to go through that. And, our the team, what they put together and so on, dealing with all our employees and so on and their concerns, and dealing with concerns about people working in the stores and how we operated and how we were going to operate. We were leading the way right across the country for how we set that up to keep our people safe and still make the sales. And I have to say that was Troy driven more than myself, and with his team, and I couldn't be more proud of what they did there. So that was fabulous.
Well, one of the things that I think was, to me, it made me feel really wonderful and very proud was when we were inducted into the Business Hall of Fame here in Nova Scotia, and it just meant so much to think that we were recognized for all the hard work that we've done by our peers. It was a wonderful experience.
So I'd like to say a couple. I mean, we were the first mall jeweler. Actually, we're one of the first retailers to open up in Canada through COVID, prepared with inventory, with all of the PPE, with all the processes to keep everyone safe. So that was very rewarding to see how our team could come together and how great people can really work really well together. I have to say that we have been honored with the top 50 best managed companies since 2007, and each year that's a challenge to make sure that we're still in the running, and that's always a great, because you get to reflect on what are the great things that we're doing well. And there's always a lot. We're always quite surprised each year how many great things that we've accomplished within a year. So that's always great. But I'm getting to be coast to coast. When we had Ben Moss, when we expanded out west and took on the banner of Ben Moss, that was very rewarding for me. I thought being coast to coast really was a great achievement for Charm, and certainly we've been just continuing the same message that Richard and Sharon started so many years ago. But it's amazing that it has the staying power that it has.
Yeah, and the other thing that really strikes me is that there is that love and family theme really represented in your sense of generosity to your community and the way you show a sense of responsibility to take care of others. Can you talk about what that has meant to you and how that has showed up?
It's been a very important part of our business. We wanted to give back to the communities in which we did business, and we thought, well, how can we do this, and what's the best way? So we thought about hospitals and healthcare facilities to support them, and so we started way back when we had the Charms Children's Crusade to get monies for the IWK at that time, because we were originally in Nova Scotia. But then it went on so that we support all the children's hospitals across Canada, or in the communities in which we do business. So it started there, and we have been involved with a lot of hospitals and with their gala events, and we wanted to give back.
And Sharon, I know you used to be a nurse. So is that partly why you chose that avenue?
It probably was an influence. But, when you try to think, oh, what's the best way to give back to a large group of people? It's healthcare. It's healthcare facilities, even though I was a nurse. But, I think, everyone would agree that we all look to them. And that's where I think money's and
so
support should go.
So necessary. They need it so much, really.
How does it feel to you to be able to contribute in that way to your community?
Well, I'm very happy to give back, and I want to give back in a way that our employees, everything, are happy with what we're doing, and so on, because they're my partners in the business, and everyone is supportive of us giving to the medical system and so on. That's good for them and their children and whatever, and families and so on. So I think it's like giving back to them as well. So they're all getting something out of that. So it's a very positive response.
Troy, it seems like you've grown up with a great example of generosity of spirit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Sharon's been leading the charge on our charity side for so many years, but they're a great example to follow. And we, as Children's Hospitals has been our place of focus across Canada. And I think that everyone can identify with the fact that, your family is so important to you, and you want to make sure that they're looked after. Right. But it's amazing that, for so long, for 50 years, so a business to re-energize itself each and every year, to be on top. And we're number one, in many of the malls across Canada. To be on top for 50 years is extremely difficult, and that takes the team. Our team is, they're super great people, but they're very good at what they do, and that's really how we win the customer for life.
Is that your secret sauce?
People are the secret sauce for sure, but you have to kind of keep reinventing yourself, and we have been reinventing ourselves a few times over the period of time. There's lots of focus and lots of new things coming up for the future. So 50 doesn't stop it. 50 is just we're just getting going here. So we're just getting going. So we got a lot of things to do.
And when you think of 50 years, how does it make you feel to have accomplished this?
Makes you feel a little old, but I don't think about very much of where we are, because I continue to keep concentrating on where we want to go, and we're not there yet. And so we've done a lot, and but this is just a milestone on the way, and so on. But we've got a lot more to do.
Richard has always been on the go, always seeing a bigger picture. And I just find that, I always found that amazing. I think that we've made it, and he keeps saying, no, we've got more to do. We've got more to go. And I think that's just amazing. Here we are now, 50 years later, and we are coast to coast. And, we're Canada's largest family-owned jewelry business. And I just think, from the Red Tavern, we've done well.
I think it's a sign of your flexibility and creativity in marketing, even, that you were willing to get behind this podcast, the Canadian Love Map, and we literally couldn't do it without you. So I want to say that we've heard from so many people, particularly through the pandemic, that these stories that we tell of love in all its forms across the country have been really uplifting to people in a dark time. And do you feel good about that?
That's very good, very good. What better thing is there? Obviously, I think that during a time when people were not able to do so many other things, they had to look at all of their loved ones and who they were sharing. It's the companionship, and
they had to.
Huh? Right? They had to. This is.
I thought the podcasts were amazing, and I loved them, and I loved each and every one of the stories. It was so heartwarming, and I'm just so proud that I was part of it.
We love to be part of Canadian Love Stories, and it's just great that we have, some really tangible, real stories to hear, and it's amazing.
Well, I think that ties in perfectly to me asking the two people sitting beside you how proud they are of you and your engagement and involvement in this company?
It's just been absolutely wonderful. It's been amazing to see him grow from the time when he was putting the computer in and did not want any part of our company. And then at the end of the term said, I really like what we do. It's exciting, do you have a job now? And we've been so pleased. And he's just done an amazing job through the years, and especially during the COVID and the pandemic. I don't know what we would have done without him, without his energy, and without, building his team and getting his team around him to say, okay, what's next? He was looking to the future. The day we were shut down everywhere in Canada, he said, okay, what about tomorrow? What's it going to look like? He's amazing.
Oh, Troy has done a great job, and this is something to say, because in a lot of families and a lot of family businesses, I guess, where the second generation is not an easy task and so on to take over, but he has taken over in a great way, and we have great respect for each other, and we work well together. And so at least I say we work well together, and so we work well together, and we very seldom ever disagree on many things, whatever. So it's very, very good. So he's afforded me an opportunity to stay on beyond my time and still help work with the business and know that it's in good, capable hands. So it's all been a very good spot.
Now, Troy, I don't know if you're considered one of the founders since you were in diapers at the time, but what would you say about your parents and what they have accomplished?
Well, yeah, it's just amazing the story, actually the culture that they've actually created in the company. I mean, I think that's really comes a lot from what they believe in. You can see in the company, so that's nice. I mean, and certainly some of the way that they've actually handled their lives, I see that in the company. And we were so passionate as a family about the business. So I would, I guess I had a very long learning curve because I had so much time under there. It was a university that never stopped, right? But they really are amazing people and amazing business leaders. I highly respect what they've done. How many people they've employed across Canada? It's like 900 people. It's like amazing. And how many engagement rings and other gifts of love we've sold. I mean, it's spectacular how many lives they've been a part of. So.
Well, you're right. Even with those 900 employees, that's 900 families in Canada that, you're helping them pay their mortgage and bring up their kids. That's really something. Thank you so much for being willing to talk about this amazing story. And thank you for supporting the Canadian Love Map podcast. We love what we do, and we love the people we meet through this podcast, and you make it possible.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Canadian Love Map. If you love us, please subscribe and share. And if you want to help us spread the love even more, rate and review our podcast. It makes such a difference. We'll be back next week with another love story to add to the map. This podcast is presented and made possible by Charm Diamond Centers. It's hosted by me, Nancy Regan, and is produced and distributed by Podstarter.